Have you ever noticed how the word tonic instantly makes something sound healthier? Tonic. It sounds medicinal, restorative, like something good for your liver, your blood, maybe even your entire life. Add to that a distinctly bitter, grown-up flavor, earthy, serious, layered. And our brains, remarkably quick at making snap judgments, automatically file it under beneficial beverages. In nature, bitterness is often associated with medicinal properties. Bitter herbs, traditional remedies, black coffee. When something tastes bitter, we tend to assume it has value. Bitterness signals seriousness. But here's the twist. What you're drinking isn't medicine. It's carbonated sugar water, decorated with historical memory. That sounds harsh? Stay with me. Let's talk about quinine, the soul of tonic water. In the 19th century, quinine was a genuine lifesaver against malaria. The doses used then were strong enough to produce real pharmacological effects. People drank it because they had no other option. But in the 20th century, things changed. Health authorities began strictly regulating active ingredients in food and beverages. Today, under any FDA regulations, tonic water may contain no more than 83 parts per million of quinine. In practical terms, a 330 milliliters bottle contains roughly 20 milligrams. 20 milligrams. It sounds scientific. But consider this. Therapeutic doses for treating malaria once ranged from 500 to 1,000 milligrams per day. That means you'd need to drink dozens of bottles of tonic daily to approach medical levels. And long before you got there, your body would surrender to the sugar. 20 milligrams isn't enough to treat malaria. Not enough to meaningfully relieve cramps. Not enough to create any noticeable physiological effect beyond a faint bitterness on the tip of your tongue. So why keep the word tonic? Because it sells. The fascinating part lies in how easily our brains are guided by sensation. Bitterness makes us think, this is serious. Carbonation adds freshness. Bottle designs often lean minimalist white, silver, pale, green, clean, almost clinical. Put together, it creates a subtle illusion. This must be less indulgent than cola. Flip the bottle around, though, and the truth becomes almost comical. A standard bottle of tonic water contains roughly the same amount of sugar as a can of cola, around 30 to 35 grams. 35 grams means nearly 7 teaspoons of sugar. Picture yourself pouring a glass of water and adding 7 teaspoons by hand. It doesn't feel very detox anymore. Does it? Manufacturers don't have much choice. Quinine is sharply bitter. To balance it, they add sugar or high-fructose corn syrup. Without that sweetness, most people simply wouldn't drink it. The bitterness hasn't disappeared, it's just cushioned beneath a thick layer of sweet. So when you sip a gin and tonic and reassure yourself, at least this isn't soda, your body might quietly respond. We just consume nearly the same thing. This leads to a more interesting question. Why do we trust bitterness so deeply? Psychology calls it the halo effect. One positive trait, in this case, bitterness, suggesting medicinal qualities, causes us to assign other favorable attributes. Bitter equals natural. Natural equals healthy. And just like that, we skim past the ingredient list. The beverage industry understands this well. Add a hint of bitterness, a touch of botanicals, a colonial backstory involving malaria and empire. And the product gains cultural depth. And cultural depth discourages scrutiny. You're not just buying carbonated water. You're buying the feeling of consuming something with heritage. Your body, however, doesn't process heritage. It processes sugar. 35 grams of sugar deliver about 140 calories. Not dramatic on its own, but if that's your second or third glass of the evening, a casual drink quietly turns into liquid dessert. And the irony? It all unfolds under the gentle authority of the word tonic, a name that sounds like afternoon medicine. This doesn't mean you must abandon gin and tonic or suddenly glare suspiciously at your glass. The point isn't whether you drink it. The point is awareness. We like to believe we make decisions rationally, yet many of those decisions are guided by language and sensation. A single word on a label, a subtle bitterness, a romantic historical narrative. Sometimes, that's all it takes. Perhaps the most intriguing part isn't how much sugar tonic contains. It's how a product can retain the aura of empire-saving medicine long after its medicinal strength has nearly vanished. We're drinking a symbol, not a remedy. Next time someone says, "This is lighter than soda," you can simply smile. No need to argue. Just remember that bitterness isn't always a badge of discipline. Sometimes it's a carefully crafted mask for sweetness underneath. And if you find it fascinating that a single word on a label can quietly shape perception, trust this. The world of beverages and consumer culture at large is full of equally subtle illusions waiting to be examined. Perhaps next time, we'll take a closer look at something else that seems healthy and discover it's merely wearing the costume of virtue.